Hello and welcome to the Long Islanders podcast. This is a special episode because it's Justin's favorite sport, the NBA.
Oh, God.
And today we have a very special guest. We have Josh Rodriguez from the Dime podcast on Apple Podcast and wherever else you can listen it to. Josh, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to invite me. And I know it's kind of late out right now, so you're up and, grinded. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, we don't record ever until about like midnight. This is one of our
It's the only time anyone's free anymore. It's bad. I lose sleep because of this.
Well, you're working while the world sleeps. That's not a bad thing. You're kind of gaining on the rest of the world right now.
Yeah, so in case you guys don't know Josh, which I don't know how you don't at this point, you can follow him on Twitter at Josh_Rodriguez_ or listen to him on the Dime podcast with Josh Rodriguez on Apple. And if you're pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts at this point, right, Josh?
Yeah, it's on Stitcher, it's on Google Play, it's on iHeartRadio, it's on Spotify. So there's no excuses. Just type in the Dime with Josh Rodriguez and it should come up.
That's awesome. And it's a great listen. I listened to his two that he just dropped recently. And I'm an avid listener. So he's very intelligent on the NBA. He knows his stuff. He gets really great guests on there as well.
Thanks, Vinny. I really appreciate that. And you were a guest as well. Got to get you back on, man.
Yeah. Anything else you had to plug before we start?
I'm going to be hosting a show called The Weekly Six on Fanium Sports. That's going to be a fantasy sports network. It's kind of new. They're rebranding themselves, and I'm going to be on a show basically arguing about individual players from here on out. It's going to be fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think the NBA has been a little boring the past few days. Can you guys agree?
Up until the bomb that Magic Johnson dropped on everybody. Yeah, I agree.
So like Vinny was filling me in. So Magic Johnson is your favorite player of all time.
Yes.
What was your initial reaction when you heard that he was stepping down?
I was like, are you fucking kidding me, Magic? What is wrong with you, dude? Like it's like breaking up with a girlfriend via email. And yes, I still mean email because you could break up with a girlfriend via text now, phone call, and email is the worst out of those three options. And I would say that's the worst thing that he did. It was pathetic. I mean, what kind of man are you not to leave a team, notify the owner, but do it through the media pregame before the last game of the season? I think he thought he was going to get fired and he tried to control the narrative, but I don't know. It was bad.
I don't see how he gets fired, though. Like, I've heard that spiraling around. Like, I have no idea. Because as long as LeBron liked him, he was there to stay. LeBron doesn't like Walton. He was probably gone. Rob Pelinka was probably going to be gone also. Yeah. So it was going to be the Magic and LeBron show trying to recruit Anthony Davis and everyone's mother to the Lakers this offseason.
Yeah, you do make a good point, but Jeanie Buss wanted to keep Luke Walton, and I think Jeanie wanted Magic out some sort of way because he's not good at his job. I mean, he's Magic Johnson, but he's been that president of basketball operations for 3 years, and he's basically traded away D'Angelo Russell. Shout out to you, Vinny. You're welcome. Drafting Lonzo Ball, a lot of people are kind of upset with that, even though I think you should give him time. But he's not good at his job, and he is Magic Johnson. He doesn't seem like he's well equipped for the job. He doesn't seem like he wants to do the job. And Jeanie Buss fired her brother. I don't think she would have any hesitation letting Magic resign on his own, but in fact, be a firing.
Yeah. I mean,
so right off the bat, we can just agree that Jeanie Buss just does not give a shit. She fired her own brother. She has no shits to give anymore. She's done.
Yeah, she's a boss, man. I mean, I wouldn't mess with her. And Magic was crying. I wonder why he was crying. He's freaking scared. He said, you love her. You're scared of her, bro.
She's like a sister to me. Shut up. Get over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think Magic really just figured this was going to be exactly like the Dodgers at this point, how he just shows up. He could say whatever he wants. I mean, really, what he really said that bothered me was I didn't get to tweet about players. He mentioned Dwayne Wade not being there when LeBron was there. I mean, you could have showed up.
That was awful.
Yeah, it's considered tampering if he does it in his position. And he wanted to have fun. You hit it right on the head, Vinny. He wanted to be what he is to the Dodgers, just show up to the game, smile for the cameras, and be Magic Johnson. And he couldn't do that at the position he has.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen that he really didn't know exactly where he could go at some point. I mean, he had the tampering with LeBron earlier in the offseason. He had the tampering with a few other players that happened throughout the season. I I mean, not a lot of people say this, but I think some of the Anthony Davis stuff falls on him. And I mean, in general, it's really hard to be a great NBA player and then be a great executive as well. I mean, really all that I could think of is Jerry West at that's able to do both. I mean, you see Jordan, who I told you I think is an inside job.
That's still one of the stupidest things you've ever said to me. And I've known you for going on about 15 years. And that is the single dumbest thing I've ever heard come out of your mouth, Vin.
Dude, Vinny, are you the Alex Jones of sports talk radio?
I try not to be.
I could not think of a better comparison ever, Josh. Thank you for that.
Josh, it's
110%.
Josh, it's funny because we're in a group chat with a few other friends on Twitter, and I messaged them because I'm starting a new writing job, and I was like, "Do you guys have any hot takes that I could do?" And apparently, I'm full of them, and I just don't realize.
InfoWars Sports. God. What do you mean by inside job? I'm curious.
I mean, he's ruined Kemba at this point, to the point that Kemba, I think there's no chance that he's staying. Okay. He hasn't built anything around him. I think that really he's not good at his job. I mean, if he wasn't the owner, he wouldn't be the GM.
Got you. No, yeah, I agree. I actually do agree with that.
I mean, I agree with that too, but saying inside job is like, that's strong.
It's like there's some mafia out there.
Exactly.
I mean, look at Kemba, and he couldn't get the team to the 8th place in the East, where it was basically you get 40 wins and you're there. You didn't have to be 500 at this point.
So you think
I would like to argue who is around Kemba, because if your next best guy is Frank Kaminsky, you have an issue. So I don't want to I take everything with Kemba with a grain of salt here, because that we talk about Damian Lillard being alone, Kemba is on an island by himself as far as talent on that team.
Well, I think he has Tony Parker this year.
Tony Parker's like 79 years old.
Well,
he needs an oxygen tank to get up and down the court, man.
They have Batum. I mean, they have decent players that should have at least gotten to 500 this year, in my opinion.
All right. I mean, they're almost there, so I mean, that's not a terrible take.
Yeah,
that's a terrible take.
And just to go back to Magic, I really pictured this whole Magic situation as exactly a microcosm of what the Lakers were with Magic. He announced this before even talking to Jeanie Buss. It just seems he was on the whim, and he said he didn't want to get emotional to Jeanie. I think he was afraid that he would go in there, Jeanie would change his mind, and he would just feel like he's forced to, all right, I'll sign up for another year at this point. But you have all the drama that was surrounding the Lakers this year. People could point injuries at something, and the talent around them as another. I mean, they had a bunch of guys who really didn't fit a role with these veterans. And basically, a bunch of let's try to do what we can with what we got. Not a lot of planning. As you said on your podcast, the guest that you had slips my name slips my mind at this point.
Darnell Gillette.
Yeah, Darnell. He was saying something along the lines of basically they don't have anything role related, and that Magic isn't that gym rat as a player. As the manager of basketball operations. Sorry, title totally slipped my mind there. But he wasn't really wanting to do it. He didn't want to watch that grainy footage that you can't tell who's shooting. But yeah, I mean, it was really a big ending to this Lakers season. And they were really like the Undertaker, as you said in your podcast.
Oh my God! Because I had a eulogy for them and everything 2 episodes ago. I'm like, these guys are dead. I don't ever have to talk to them again. And out of the freaking dead, I have to talk about them again. I'm so sick of them. But yeah, you hit it right on the head, Vinny. I mean, Magic, that job is very tedious. You have to go to gyms. You have to find players. And not only have to find players, but you have to have an identity for your team and find players who fit that identity. And Magic just was like, I like Lance Stevenson. Oh, good. Like, it just made no sense. The team made no sense. He's really bad at his job. And it just is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, just going back to what you said about putting talent. I mean, I know whose bright idea was it for Rajon Rondo?
Magic.
and Lance Stevenson, like, you know what? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, cool, great. They're great role guys. Rajon Rondo can't shoot to save his life. Gun to his head, he'd die. And and Lance Stevenson, the only real redeeming quality about him is that, yeah, he's big, he plays physical, and he blows in LeBron James' ear that one time. That's the only other reason I know who Lance Stevenson was. Honestly.
Yeah, the roster construction just made no sense. I mean, you got to maximize the talent on your roster, and Magic just had no idea how to do that. You know, LeBron James, it's known, get shooters to surround LeBron James with. And it's like, okay, I'll get shooters like Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, and JaVale McGee. It's just like, we could have done a better job as a group, us three. I guarantee you we would have built a better team than Magic built this year.
Oh, I have in 2K. I 1000% under the salary cap and and everything. I'm good.
Go. Justin's for hire. You hear that, Jeannie?
Yeah, just send your resume to Jeannie.
Oh, I will. Don't think I won't.
Yeah, I mean, I think Magic just pictured this as being an ambassador role, and just the work got too much for him, and he didn't really want to do as much. I mean, he seemed hesitant on being able to fire. Woj tweeted out something like that he met with LeBron the day before or a couple days before, and that he didn't give LeBron any indication that he was going to do this.
Right. He didn't give anybody an indication. He just kind of did it on a whim.
And he did it on a pregame before their final home game of the year. And just not telling your boss that, hey, I'm leaving this and don't expect me to be here. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a coward move at that point.
Yeah, and it's a shame because, you know, I'm watching one of my heroes just totally embarrass himself. It sucks. I mean, but it is what it is. He was terrible at his job. And honestly, if you're a Laker fan right now, you just kind of have to look at it as a blessing in disguise. The way it went down is not ideal, but he's not the man for the job. And I think the Lakers need to hire someone outside of the Lakers organization. They always want to hire like a legend like Magic Johnson. You hear people talking about Kobe Bryant now. Rob Pelinka was Kobe's agent. Maybe look outside of the Los Angeles Lakers franchise, because whatever you've been doing hasn't been working for about a decade.
Yeah, I mean, really all they could do, I mean, they could just pick somebody out of the Spurs organization.
Yeah,
I mean,
seriously. But you're right, though. Like, maybe pick someone from an organization that's been winning.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we did.
There you go.
The towel boy for the Spurs. Greatest pickup they'll ever have. Honestly.
Yeah, another thing that Magic tried, the Magic news kind of overtook was Dirk and Dwayne Wade's final home games.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Dirk first because in general, I think we lost 2 of the 20 greatest players, and next year is going to be a little bit different. I think Dirk, the injuries were catching up to him. I think Wade at least could have played another year if he really wanted to. But
yeah,
Dirk is somebody who I took advantage of. Admittedly, I didn't really think of him as that great player. He had that MVP and then lost in the first round.
Yeah.
That one ring against the Heat, that was a really great showing for him and the rest of that team, because really it looked like overcoming the insurmountable odds at that point with a big 3. And Dirk just being that really only guy. I mean, who was their second best player on that championship team?
Jason Terry.
Yeah. I mean, if that's your second best player in the era of big 3 teams, I mean, you had a great job. And I mean, I love that team just for the Jason Kidd aspect.
Yeah.
Being a big Jason Kidd fan. But
of course you do.
I mean, if people think of shots, I mean, people yell Kobe when they shoot. I think of just Dirk's fadeaway.
Yeah, that one-legged fadeaway was kind of his patent. He was so clutch. He was everything. I mean, to me, he was the perfect superstar to build around because he didn't demand the ball all the time. He could play off the ball, and he stretched the floor with his jump shooting ability, but he was also tall enough to demand the big's attention. He was by far the best Euro we've ever seen. And I think he'll go down maybe, I think you said it, top 20, top maybe 15 player of all time. I don't have a list in front of me, but I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, and I mean, we're really at the end of the era of playing for one team your entire career.
Yeah.
And Dirk did it for 20 years.
Yeah.
In a league of player mobility, I mean, it's going to be very rare, if ever, if we see this again. And he was just that one guy who just, I never felt like, oh, this guy is a top 5 player while watching. But if you look at him as a whole, I mean, he was, I mean, a 14-time All-Star, MVP, Finals MVP, a champion. I mean, he's up there.
Yeah, I mean 1,000%. So, like just as you alluded to, like when you think of Dirk, you don't really see him as like maybe that top 5 guy in the league. But like looking back over the course of his career with those numbers, he's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
And it's just like I saw his I saw his career numbers, and I was like, "You've got to be shitting me! There's no way those are right." And then I'm looking back, I'm like, geez, 21 years. That is right. And he's just one of those guys. I mean, like you said, the 20. He just couldn't play 82 games anymore. Probably would have averaged negative points per game if he continued playing. His foot injury has just caught up with him to the point where he just couldn't do it. But I mean, I'm happy I was able to watch him, and I'm happy I was able to watch him beat the Heat in that finals, because that was unprecedented at the time, and I hated the Heat then. So any little thing that could go wrong for them, I was there, and I was so happy.
Yeah, same here. Actually, that's the one year I rooted against LeBron James. I've always been a LeBron James fan, but that one year I was rooting for the Mavericks because I wanted a team, the definition of a team, to beat a so-called team in the Big Three. And that championship, they say some championships hold more weight than others. Like LeBron's championship when he came back from a 3-1 deficit against the Warriors really counts as like 2 or 3 to some people. I would say the same thing about Dirk. I mean, that championship should count as like 2 or 3. And when that championship is discussed, it's really not about Dirk. It's about how LeBron choked away that finals. And I think it's kind of unfortunate because what Dirk was able to do was one of the greatest accomplishments in NBA finals history.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, just the fact he was in Dallas his whole career. I mean, it seems like he got overshadowed at times by the Spurs dynasty that was going on.
Absolutely, yeah.
And everything. And I mean, he's been you can't say one bad thing about him as a person, as a player. He had a great relationship with Mark Cuban his whole career.
And his wife is hot. Oh my God. Have you seen his wife? Yes.
Hold on. Hold on.
From what I remember.
Google.
From what I remember, I haven't seen a picture in a long time.
Oh wait. It's on the second. Oh, Jesus.
I was like, okay, Dirk, I see you.
Okay.
So good for him.
Literally, if you type in Dirk, the second result is Dirk Nowitzki wife.
Yeah. And
damn.
And then he got to that NBA championship against Wade when it was Wade and Shaq.
Yeah.
And I mean, he played pretty good in that series too. It's not like he got.
I mean, it just Wade took over. Wade had we just talked about Dirk having one of the best finals performances ever. Wade had one of the best finals performances in that series, and he was able to come back from a 2-0 deficit, but that wasn't on Dirk. I think the Heat, they were more experienced. They had Jason Williams, they had Gary Payton, they had Shaq. It was just a team that was built to win, whereas Dirk, they were just coming into their own.
Yeah, and then let's pivot to Wade, because this one I got to watch a lot more. He played his final game in Miami a couple nights ago, and then he ended up playing in Brooklyn, where he averaged a triple-double. I mean, where he got his 5th triple-double of his career, I think it was, which is incredible just to send off him that way.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that really stuck out to me about that, I believe LeBron, Melo, and Paul were there, the Banana Boat crew.
Yeah.
So yeah. I just thought that was really awesome. Just a way for them to go out. They were egging him on to shoot, and he did. He threw up 30 shots or something like that.
Did he?
Yeah, like some ridiculous number of shots. Like not Kobe final game numbers, but like some ridiculous number that he should not have ever gone near otherwise. But we gave him a pass because it was his last game. But Wade is one of those guys for me. I always loved him growing up. just because he seemed like a great guy, and he's actually the only jersey, like the only NBA jersey of a player that I've ever owned.
Oh wow!
And like I went out and bought that myself. I was like 10, and I was like I'm going to Kohl's and I'm buying this jersey, and no one's gonna tell me otherwise. So like just seeing him, like I feel old knowing that now he's retiring. Because like I remember when he first came into the league and I loved him, and now I'm 22 and just depressed he's out.
Yeah, man, your childhood's gone, man. It's over.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. Now I really don't care about basketball anymore. Now I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admittedly say I was a fair weather Heat fan for those 4 years. I really liked LeBron, and at that time, having him go to Miami. And basically Wade teaching him how to be a winner at that point. I mean,
yeah,
they had that big three. Wade's already won a championship at that point against Dirk. And there's really nothing you could say bad about Wade's game.
No, you're right. I mean, he didn't really shoot the three ball too well, but even so, like he wasn't bad at it. He was incredibly creative. He can create his own shot. He did pass the ball. He created for others. He was a phenomenal defender. I think he has the most block shots by a guard, or he's up there. He's kind of neck and neck with Jordan in that aspect. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, there's not one thing about Dwayne Wade that I think of and I'm like, I wish he did this more, did that more. Injuries unfortunately kind of derailed his prime. I feel like if he didn't get hurt as much as he did, we'd be having a conversation about him and Kobe Bryant, who's better. But since Kobe lasted longer and had a longer prime and won 5 championships, I think it's the general consensus that Kobe's the better all-time great. But I always make the argument that Dwayne Wade at his very best is better than Kobe at his very best, even though a lot of people will disagree with me. It's just that Kobe's best lasted for so much longer.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. Someone who didn't think that they were a little worse than Dwayne Wade was Paul Pierce.
What an idiot!
Yeah, I think we all share
How
that opinion.
dumb can you be?
Well, I mean, in the one sense that I could say I understand where Paul Pierce is coming from is you're not going to go on TV and say that guy's better than me. As a macho standpoint,
I guess. I guess.
I mean, I'm just trying to find a way that I could say I can understand where he's coming from at that point. But I mean, obviously I don't agree with it. I think Wade is better in a lot of different categories. I mean, even when he said it, they roasted him and just pretty much showed him that, no, you're just a little bit oblivious to this.
Yeah, and he's one of the best players of all time, but I feel like you should still have enough awareness to know that there's levels to this and you're just not at his level. Yeah. Paul Pierce, I mean, he's one of the best small forwards of all time, but I wouldn't say, Wade, you just said Vinny, top 20, right? Maybe 20, something like that. What Pierce is probably in the top 50?
Yeah, I would say like French 50.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, you respect it because that's probably what made him so great, but at the same time, you kind of want to seem a little more self-awareness because a lot of greats do have that self-awareness. A lot of greats are more humble and say, I think this person was good or might have been better than me, and it's kind of weird to see him not do it, but do it so often. He says a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah. 1,000%. I think he just wants to get some more views on ESPN at this point.
I think he actually believes it, man. You and Paul Pierce should start a conspiracy podcast together.
Ooh. Who do you think would have hotter takes, me or Paul?
You.
1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be two crazy SOBs trying to figure out the world.
Just one thing that stuck out to me from Paul Pierce's comments. He goes, yeah, if you gave me LeBron and Shaq and Bosh, yeah, I would have been sitting on 4 rings. Yeah, you know what? If you had all of them, so would Jimmer Fredette. All right? Jimmer Fredette would have 4 rings if you got all of them together in their primes. Like that's what. Yeah. Like it's such a stupid argument to have.
Yeah.
Because, yes, of course. It's like assembling the 96, 97 Bulls on steroids. That's essentially what he's saying.
Yeah, and I think he's trying to underplay who he had. Saying. Yeah, he was underplaying who he had. I mean, he played with Kevin Garnett.
He had one of the
Rondo.
greatest shooters of all time in Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett.
Couldn't get out
and they got
they came over.
1 championship out of that. 1. Don't you dare tell me that you would have won more. Don't you dare.
That's so true because when the Celtics formed that big 3, I'm like, oh my God, next 3 or 4 years they're winning the championship, and they got 1, and they I mean, they barely got that one too. So
Yeah. And I mean, he had such a better coach than Dwayne Wade ever had. I mean, no disrespect to Spoelstra, but I mean, it's not anywhere as like a hot take, as apparently I give so many, as saying that Doc Rivers is a level ahead of Spoelstra.
yes, Spoelstra's a good coach, but you're right. I think Doc's probably on that tier just above Spoelstra. But Spoelstra is a good coach. I think he's very underrated.
Oh yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, look at his career progression at this point.
Yeah.
From where he started to getting there. I mean, just that alone, I mean, puts you in a pretty good tier.
Yeah. Speaking of Doc Rivers, he has my vote for Coach of the Year.
Interesting. Listen, you can make a case. You could absolutely make a case for that. Look at the Clippers, man. I think they're one of the most underrated teams in the league right now. I mean, they're going against the Warriors in this round, and no one's giving them a chance. And don't get me wrong, I don't think they have a chance, but I do think I picked the Warriors in 6 just because I respect Doc Rivers and the Clippers so much. I think they can grab a game or two there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's jump to that.
Okay. Yeah, so like looking at what they were able to do after they traded Tobias and Boban to Philly, they were just able to. Essentially everyone was like, okay, so they're going to get all these guys in, and then they're just going to tank. But I mean, Danilo Gallinari has been like playing out of his goddamn mind.
Yeah.
What's he averaging? Like 19 points and like 5 assists or something like that?
He's at a lot of people
crazy
are saying,
numbers.
Yeah, they want to they're trying to get him on the 3rd team all NBA, which is very possible right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I mean, essentially, Doc took them from a team that was, I guess, supposed to tank and go for maybe a lottery pick to now they're the 8th seed in the West, which was on nobody's radar when they come the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, people thought that they were going to tank, as you said. I mean, it benefited them. They would have had their pick this upcoming draft if they did fall out of the playoffs. But credit to them. They wanted to compete. And, I mean, you have Doc Rivers as your coach. They're probably going to get a free agent this offseason. I mean, they're looking like a very good destination at this point. And do I think they're going to beat the Warriors? I don't give them a shot in hell.
Right.
But I think they're going to put up a decent fight. I mean, you're facing a God squad at this point. You're facing the Toon Squad that they had to face in Space Jam.
Yeah, they are, but that Toon Squad is the Monstars at least.
Yeah,
they're looking a little suspect right now. They are. I think they can be had not with the Clippers, but the next round against the Rockets. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all agree Warriors are going to win that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So yeah, let's jump to the Houston-Utah series, which I think could be one of the more competitive series in this first round. You have James Harden, who played like an MVP. I still personally don't give him the MVP, but that's just me being a little bit of a hater at this point.
That's all you do. All you do is hate on him.
You're right. I do.
Disrespect Jim Harden.
Yeah, I mean, I believe he got past 1,000 threes or something like that. I read attempted.
Was it? Jeez, my God.
I believe I read that. It was either.
I mean, he
close or around. Yeah,
he literally put the team on his back during that 30-point streak.
He did.
So,
yeah. I think Houston's gonna win the series, but I mean, if you're Utah, this sucks. I mean, I think they had a good chance against any other team if they drew the 6th seed or the 7th seed. I think they had a chance of winning it, that you could argue, but it just really stinks that Utah's gonna go home in the first round.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think Utah would have been a very tough matchup for the Nuggets. I think they would have been okay against the Blazers. The Rockets are just a really bad matchup for them because the Rockets can put up points. In Utah, they move the ball, they play sound basketball, but they still have a little trouble shooting the basketball, and they're just not going to be able to keep up with the Rockets. Defensively, Utah's good as well, but a reason why they're good is because Gobert's there in the middle. But, you know, when you're shooting step-back threes, Gobert's not going to be a difference in the game. So I got the Rockets in 5. I'm going to give Utah a game just because I feel like, you know, Donovan Mitchell can go off for 30 in a game and he might propel them to one victory, but it wouldn't surprise me if they got swept.
Foley, any thought on this?
I mean, just based off what you guys said. I mean, I think I'm really interested to see. It's going to be a lot closer depending on the James Harden that we do get.
True.
Because, I mean, say what you want about Paul Pierce and the rest of the team, but James Harden basically dictates how the rest of that team plays. So if he's having an off night, I don't think he's going to have an off series, but he could have a bad game here or there and at least hopefully make it interesting instead of a straight sweep, because that's never fun. Yeah. When it's just blowout after blowout. Like the Warriors won for the first 7 times they did it, and now it's just boring to watch. So I mean, I'm kind of just hoping for more competitive games, which I do think could happen, but it all really depends on the Harden that we get for the series.
Yeah, I mean, Harden's had some really bad playoff games. I think Chris Paul is going to give him a little bit of flexibility at this point. I mean, and I don't think they're going to miss 27 threes again this playoff. So I think they're going to have a pretty good chance of being contenders.
Yeah.
But next is the 3-6 matchup, Portland and OKC. I've been tossing up this one a little bit because I don't think Westbrook's efficiency is going to be very good. And it really depends on what Westbrook you get. If he's chucking up 30 shots, and as I think Justin said before we recorded, that if he's chucking up 30 shots and shooting, or you might have said this on the podcast, Josh, with 18 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yeah, that's me.
But yeah, I mean, you had that. Paul George played like an MVP, but he's been a little bit hurt the past couple weeks and everything. But Portland's prime for the picking at this point. I mean, you have Nurkic, who got injured, and McCollum's just getting back into the rotation. I'm going to go Portland because I really love Damian Lillard, and I think he could really go off in this series. And yeah, so I think I'm going to go Portland in 6.
Yeah, I got Portland in 7. But if you were to tell me OKC in 6, OKC in 7, I could absolutely see that as well. I mean, this is the definition of a 50-50 type series. I'm just going to go with Portland because they've been playing better. I like Damian Lillard more than I like Russell Westbrook for the reasons you just said. He's very erratic. He can propel them to a victory, but even more often than not, he is a reason why this team loses in the first round. And even though Nurkic is out, Lillard stepped up with McCollum out and Nurkic out, and the Blazers didn't miss a beat. And Cantor stepped right in. Nice acquisition there from the Knicks, and he's filled that role pretty nicely. So I like the Blazers in this one, but it wouldn't surprise me if OKC wins.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna go with the Thunder just to be the dark horse and just say that I was right if it does happen. But the one thing that I like about the Thunder is I believe they won their last 5. And granted, the teams that they beat were resting guys because of the playoffs, but they had some pretty good wins. I want to say I know they beat Milwaukee. Some of the other teams that are slipping my mind. But like I think that maybe they just got hot at the right moment. And like it's like in any sport, like if you're gonna be hot at the end of the season before the playoffs. So that way you can like kind of propel that. So I'm just gonna say Thunder because even though, as you guys correctly say, Westbrook is very erratic with his shot and doesn't always seem to do the smart move, he makes up for it in ability because I mean he can get a triple-double on any night because he can jump higher than you, he can run faster than you, and he can just score better and play better defense than most people. So I think him and Paul George together, it's not going to be easy. They both need to have a really, really good series, but I definitely think it's possible for them to beat the Trailblazers.
Yeah,
I'll say in 7.
Yeah, if you get playoff P, then I think you got to be a little bit scared if you're the Thunder. But if you get Paul George in the regular season,
you want a regular season P, regular P,
yeah, regular P. And then in a matchup that I think is going to go 5 games, we got Denver and the Spurs. I think Denver is going to easily take the series. I think the Spurs are going to put up a decent fight because of coaching, and they have a few good players. I mean, they have LaMarcus, they have DeRozan now, and it looks like they're pretty good. But the Denver's home record being 34-7, I think they're going to be really dominant there, and I think they're going to be able to just show that they're the better team in this series.
Yeah, I think Denver's a better team here. I have them winning in 6 just out of respect to what the Spurs have done this year. But their guard play is way better than the Spurs guard play. And I'm a big believer that guards win in this league. You have Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Will Barton, Monty Morris, Isaiah Thomas. It's just they're coming at you from all angles. And then I mentioned their guard play, but their best player is a big man, Nikola Jokic. And they're just a better team. They haven't been playing that well, but I think the matchup is good for them. The Spurs don't shoot too many threes, and they're going to have to hit threes to keep up with what the Nuggets do, and I don't think they will.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm going to agree with you guys. I think the Nuggets are too talented a team. Like you said, I respect the Spurs, but I just think that the Nuggets have too many pieces and not as many holes within the lineup in the rotation that I think the Spurs have, because no one really jumps off the page at you other than LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan. So just looking at that, I think, like you said, the guard play, they can come at you however many they need to, and there's always going to be fresh guys coming off to help push the ball, facilitate the offense. So, like you said, I guess I'll go Nuggets in 6 also. I'm doing this on the fly, but Nuggets in 6 sounds good.
Cool.
All right, and then in the East, we have Sweep City, in my opinion. Milwaukee versus Detroit.
Yeah.
There's nothing to talk about in this series.
Yeah. Move on. We're done here.
Are we going to analyze this for real?
No. Giannis is great at basketball. Okay, we're done. We're great. We're done. That's all we need to say.
Yeah, I mean, really, there's not much else. So yeah, let's jump to Boston and Indiana at this point. Boston, I mean, they're missing Marcus Smart, and I don't think it's going to be as big as a factor as Oladipo being down. I know that the Pacers they managed to still get a 5 seed with Oladipo out, but I don't think they're built to be a playoff team without him. And I mean, Boston has a lot of the better players in this series.
Yeah, I agree. Boston's the better team. I think Boston has the most talent in the East. The Pacers play hard. They play together, but I think you hit it right on the head, Benny, when you said they're not built for the playoffs, especially when you're missing your best player. They don't really have a guy to say, here, go get me a bucket in tight situations. When you get Brad Stevens coaching in a 7-game series, I think he's going to make the proper adjustments. Boston's been struggling, but I like this matchup for them. I think they win in 6. I'm going to give the Pacers 2 games just because they play really hard. It's tough to win in Indy, and I think they'll probably win a couple games in Indiana.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of what Josh just said. I mean, I love the Celtics coach, Brad Stevens. Love him. I think he's a fantastic coach in college and in the pros. I think just that the talent around or on the Celtics team, even without Marcus Smart, because he's not the best offensively. He averages 9.3 points a game this season. So that's not really going to help you offensively, but he was a good defensive presence. So if they can tighten up the defense in spite of him being out, and hopefully they make it as far as they can, where he can then come back and contribute in the 3rd or 4th round, I think they said he should be ready for.
Yeah.
I think they'll be just fine in this series. For me, this is going to be one of the best series to watch. I think they're two of the most I don't want to say evenly matched teams, but the Pacers are sneaky. They're sneaky good that no one really expects them to be. But I mean, they were able to get the 5th seed in the East. So.
And they're not going to get blown out. That's the thing I like about the Pacers. No matter what happens, It's going to be a good game. You're not going to blow them out. It's going to be a tough game every game.
Yeah, because I think the Pacers are actually underrated, and I think they have been all season.
Yeah,
and because especially when Oladipo went out, everyone was like, "Oh no, it's not." They're still a good team even without Oladipo. Yeah, not as good, but still a good team.
They probably would have been a 3 seed with him, and we'd be having a different conversation right now. But unfortunately, he went down. So until next year, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so let's go to, I think, which we're going to have the most debate on.
Oh, God, here we go.
I'm taking your side on this.
Justin's hometown 76ers versus my team, the Brooklyn Nets. So I guess I'll start this.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, go ahead. Just start.
So I think I'm going to be contrarian to you guys. I'm going to take Brooklyn in 6. So
You're an idiot.
The reason, I know not many people love Colin Cowherd. I am a big Colin Cowherd fan.
He's actually my favorite host.
Oh yeah, I love him too. I at least listen to him on the podcast if I can't watch it live.
Wait, did he pick Brooklyn?
No, he ended up picking the Sixers.
Oh,
but he put up a good point. No,
he wasn't going to be Josh's favorite very soon.
Like
dropped.
Yeah, he said he wanted to, but he couldn't do it.
I mean, okay, go ahead. I'll give you my take after you give yours.
I think this is the biggest chance of being an upset in the first round.
I agree. Actually, I agree on that. Actually, I do agree. Yeah. I don't think I have a chance, but in the East, not in the West. In the West, there's some upsets.
Yeah. If Embiid isn't healthy for game 1, I think that gives Brooklyn a big chance. And I think I'm trying to think of Philadelphia as what team do they really represent? And when I think of them, I think of this year's Duke. They really haven't had a lot of time where all 5 players were in the lineup together to get that chemistry. Ben Simmons, I think, is the least improved player of the year. And so Brooklyn could just pretty much leave him open, which is kind of good for my sake. And if Embiid's not healthy, I think that Brooklyn could steal one on the road there, and that'll just give them so much momentum, and in their eyes at least, and it'll give them so much more confidence. But I mean, if you look at it and try to say who's the top 5 best players in this series, 4 of them have to be 76ers. But I think Brooklyn's that gritty. They're that deep. They play 10 or 11 deep, and they don't really depend on one guy shooting. They have Joe Harris, who led the league in 3 percentage. And I think really all you could think of at this point is Philadelphia is top 5 heavy, and then their bench isn't as strong as many people want to believe. And you have Dinwiddie on the court trying to really take up a lot of that secondary and their bench spots. I think Brooklyn has a better chance than a lot of people want to believe.
Justin, you want to take this? You want me to go?
No. I'm going to sit back and listen to this.
Okay. All right. So
go for it. Finish him.
I do agree that Brooklyn poses a threat to Philadelphia in the sense where I think they can make it a competitive series, but I don't think there's any chance in hell they have any shot of winning 4 out of 7 against the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, listen, they're a nice story. They're cute. It's fun. Yay, Brooklyn Nets. We're in the playoffs. Good times. But, I mean, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Jimmy Butler are still on the other side of the court. At the end of the day, talent wins out in the NBA. And the 76ers have too much talent. I do agree with you that the second unit for the Sixers is very, very, very weak. I think Spencer Dinwiddie's probably going to have the best series out of any net because of that. I think he's going to come in and he's going to just pretty much dominate that second unit. But at the end of the day, in the fourth quarter, the Philadelphia 76ers are going to have Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler, and then the Nets are going to have D'Angelo Russell and friends. And it's the talent discrepancy is just too much. I do think they win a game in Brooklyn. I do think they steal game 1 if Joel Embiid doesn't play, because I think Kenny Atkinson's a good coach. I think he's going to have him ready to go. And I think he's going to come out inspired. And I can see Philadelphia coming out flat, taking Brooklyn for granted. But there's no way they win more than 2 games in this series. Philadelphia, they're still a good team, despite the fact I think they kind of underachieved this year. I'm saying underachieved, and they got the 3 seed. So, I mean, that shows you what they should have been. But there's no way they're getting bounced in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. They underachieved, but if you because I watch too many Nets games that I should not be watching at this point. And I agree, they're a great story. How they bounced back after the LeVert injury and everything, but they're 1 shot away from being 3-1 in the regular season series.
Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't really mean much. Remember that one year where the Nets swept the Miami Heat, like they won 4 out of 10?
I remember that too vividly.
Yeah, it was that last year of like Darren Williams, and
I
think it was the Paul Pierce year that he was there.
Yeah,
and they lost in 5. So teams kind of turned it off in the playoffs. I will say that Brett Brown is a pretty average coach at best. I don't know if Atkinson's going to have the ammo to kind of expose him. I kind of expect that in the next round. Not so much against Brooklyn, though.
I understand that. I mean, I just think if they get one or two players in foul trouble on that starting lineup, I mean, really, who are they going to turn to?
It's possible. I mean, it's possible. It's possible they win a game or two. I just can't see them winning 4 games. That's a lot.
I agree it's a lot, but
yeah,
I think there's a chance, and if there's a chance, I'm taking it.
I will buy you a Dinwiddie jersey for that.
I'll take it.
All right, there we go. From Kohl's, the same Kohl's that Justin went to when he bought
the same Kohl's that I bought my way to in like 2005, 2006.
Just, do you have anything?
I mean, just being in Philadelphia, I guess I kind of know more about the Sixers than I like to admit.
Yeah.
So first off, TJ McConnell, I think is going to be the big difference maker for the 76ers series. I know he's just like a bench role guy, but he can come in and really set the tone for the other guys. Because if TJ McConnell's on, what I've noticed is that from the Sixers games I've watched, if he's on, most of the time the rest of the bench squad is on the same page with him. So, and plus he's just a gritty player. He does not give a shit.
He's one of my favorite players in the league. Definitely.
Yeah, McConnell just does not give a shit about anything. So he will go up there. He will post up people if he has to in order to like make shots. I just think that he could really have himself a big series. I mean, along with, you want to talk about Andre the Giant, Boban. And I mean, if Boban can just pass it to Boban and just let him get 15. And Mike Scott, who in that last game really showed his 3-point ability. If he's on from 3-point range, I really think that it gives the Nets a run for their money for the series.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Justin said too, if he just named everybody on the Sixers bench, which I do think is the weak part of their team. But if what Justin says happens, I think Philadelphia wins in 5, maybe even 4, because if Scott's hitting his threes and McConnell's doing what McConnell does, which I do think he will do, it's going to be a very short series.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people think. And I think Brooklyn's playing with house money at this point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, all the pressure's on Philadelphia because if they somehow get upset, it's going to be what the hell went wrong with Philly when they had all this talent. And if they win, it's going to be, hey, everybody expected it.
Yeah, they're in a lose-lose situation, kind of.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Justin's really underplaying Brooklyn's bench. I mean, they have a lot of veteran pieces. They have like a Jared Dudley and stuff like that, where I think they'll at least keep even with Philly's bench, if not give them that big of an advantage. I understand the starting lineup of Philly is probably going to control most of this game. But I mean, D'Angelo Russell looks amazing. It looks like whenever he decides to, he could just step up and drop 50 in the fourth quarter. I really got this hope that they can be really good contender level. I know a lot of people don't think that, but ever since he basically won in the fourth quarter that one game, where he basically came back. They came back from like 25 down in the fourth.
Kings, that was crazy.
Yeah, against the Kings.
Oh, yeah, that was nuts.
Ever since then, I really just feel like, hey, this team can catch some magic and just roll.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see it this round, man. And honestly, if Philadelphia 76ers start to struggle, I'm calling this right now. I think Brett Brown would be smart to pay Tobias Harris and bring him off the bench as a 6th man, not because Tobias Harris is bad or anything, but just because he would need some firepower in that second unit to balance everything out. And I think he'd make that adjustment, and I think that would pretty much end the series.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, and a lot of some coaches do that. I mean, they'll put somebody who's a starter and just throw him on the bench and
Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, like the Clippers do that.
I mean, it just give your bench some firepower. You're playing against a lower tier type of player.
Right.
All right, that's enough I have on the Nets. And then, I want to at least give a little bit of a clap to Orlando for making the playoffs. I think I was telling Justin, I actually thought about buying tickets to go to this.
You should. Why not? They're probably like $15.
No, actually, they're a lot more than $15.
Are they?
Yeah, they're like 90 for like nosebleed.
Oh, good for Magic fans.
Yeah.
Seriously though, I mean, I like seeing like
Yeah.
the small market teams doing good.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Fultz made the playoffs.
God.
But I mean, they have nice players. They don't have anybody that's a household name on their team at this point. I mean, you could argue Vucevic, but I mean, Toronto, they rested Kawhi for a reason, and it wasn't to lose in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, same thing we said about the Bucks Pistons. Like, are we really going to? I mean, the Magic. Listen, they ended the season very well, but at the end of the day, I don't see any way they could beat the Raptors in 7 games.
Yeah, I mean that I could agree with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much to talk about in this. I mean, I think the Raptors are just a lot better than the Magic. I mean, I know some Sixers fans didn't want any part of the Magic, and I'm just like, I literally said, I was like, I don't know much about basketball, but I know it's better than facing the Nets in the first round.
Yeah.
like take the Magic, just beat them, because that's the lesser of two evils. But still, the Magic aren't that great of a team, and the Raptors are just one of, if not the best team in the East.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think they do edge out Milwaukee a little bit, just because it's not the Giannis show in Milwaukee. So, I mean, that's just my thoughts. Like everyone, like you two said, it's going to be Raptors. Like, there's no. It's nice for Orlando to go get tickets to a playoff series, but that's where it stops.
Yeah.
Like, it's done.
I think they win a game. Raptors in 5.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they take their foot off the pedal after 3-0.
Yeah. It happens a lot. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all we have. Thank you, Josh, again for showing up. Especially on kind of short notice. I gave you like less than a day before asking.
I was actually gonna text you today, like, "Hey, are we doing it?" Because I'm flying out tomorrow, and like I wanted to make sure I was available. Yeah. But thank you for having me on, Justin. Thanks for having me on as well. It was a good time.
Yeah, great.
I definitely enjoyed it. I can't wait for this to come out. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me either.
Again, if you guys haven't heard of Josh before today, which I don't know how you haven't at this point, he's over on the Dime Podcast, so make sure to subscribe, listen to that. He has a lot of great guests on there. He had me too, so I mean, sometimes he misses.
Holla.
Sometimes he makes an idiotic mistake and invites you on the podcast, but that's okay.
You can't bat 1,000.
Well, Vinny shot his shot, man. I was asking for a guest on Twitter. I was like, anybody want to be a guest? And Vinny's like, hey, I'll be my guest. And I was like, okay, sure. Hop on, man. Just ask.
I remember he texted me. He goes, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm a guest on a podcast. I was like, who the hell would have you as a guest?
Listen, he was the first person to respond to that tweet. And I got a couple
that's perfect.
He was the first one. I was like, all right, let's do this, man.
Let's do this. That's awesome.
Yeah, but again, thank you for coming on. If you guys have not already, if you're on YouTube, subscribe. We're going to be posting a lot more content onto the YouTube. If you're listening to us on a podcast app, make sure to 5-star it. Comment. Tell us if you love us, hate us. Tell us how much Josh is better than me at NBA Talk.
Stop.
And
no, he is.
No
holds barred.
Yeah. Make sure if you haven't, make sure to tweet Josh at Josh_Rodriguez_ and tell him how great he was on today's episode. But yeah, I mean, comment, like, subscribe, leave 5 stars. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Justin and Josh, for showing up today.
I got you.
Thanks for having me, man.
And we'll see you guys in our next episode.